Okay, I call our special call meeting to order. Invocation today and the Pledge of Allegiance is by Vice Chairman Wayne Aycock.
Barbara's got the pledge now.
Oh, I'm sorry. The pledge is with you, Barbara. The Aycocks are starting to confuse me.
The 18's got it under control.
Okay, invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the opportunity to come together and conduct business of the county of Wayne and to try to better the internet service for the citizens of the county, especially our school students. We ask that you be with our men and women in uniform and be with the ones that are deployed that's possibly in harm's way. We also ask that you be with our first responders as they protect us here at home. Again, just thank you for giving us the wisdom and the knowledge to run the affairs of the county. We take this in your name. Amen.
Can we stand and say the pledge, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today we are here to take up and discuss the use of the American Rescue Plan Act funds for the expansion of broadband services here in Wayne County. We've got, I think, 3 proposals, but Mr. Honeycutt, if you'll kind of lead us along here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
if you will introduce.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
We do have a participant today, and Commissioner Antonio Williams. If you're online, if you would identify yourself.
Good afternoon. Commissioner Antonio Williams here.
Great. And if we do have any votes today, we're going to have roll call votes, and we would be asking you to identify yourself when you, in fact, vote by WebEx. And good to have you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do want to thank the partners that we've been discussing with Open Broadband, North State, and also Infinity Link, and looking at different options for Wayne County for our underserved areas. And one of the things, and I'll have Andrew and Chip correct me if I'm wrong, if I misspeak, but we've been looking at, there's also opportunities with the GREAT grant that is provided by the state of North Carolina. What we have been told is you need to really apply for the GREAT grant first before you use your ARP funds. If you do ARP funds first for projects, you're ineligible for GREAT grant funding for a year. So the reason why we're kind of been in a rush on this is the GREAT grant applications were due, I believe, originally April 5th. But now they have been extended to May 4th, if that date is correct. But we, in discussions with the chairman, we want to go ahead and get our ball rolling. Make sure that we gave those, because you can have multiple applications from a county. Because if you look at what is being discussed, all 3 of them are doing something a little bit different. If you look at North State and Infinity Link, North State is looking at fiber in the southern part of the county. Infinity Link is looking at areas in the northern part of the county. And Open Broadband is looking at areas for the underserved really in the central part of the county. So we really have 3 separate projects that we're looking at, but trying to address the needs countywide. The positive thing about this is if we do get these grants and everything would be contingent, we could use our ARP funding for the grant match for the project. And if we use our ARP funding, that will also lower the match moving forward. So It really is a good thing for us. This is really our first step in the process. Again, we wanted to make sure that we were taking full advantage of the funds for the GREAT grant before we started looking at using our ARP dollars.
And sir, I apologize, but Commissioner Foster is also joining electronically, who didn't identify himself.
Okay, Commissioner Bevan Foster, are you on the line?
Yes.
Great. So if you would identify yourself to start off with.
Yes. Bevan Foster.
Great. And if we have any votes, then those participating by WebEx would need to identify yourselves as you're placing your vote. Thank you. Okay?
And let me also ask Andrew or Chip if I've missed anything in this pre-discussion. So we do have, 3 companies here that are looking at partnering with the county. Again, by partnering with the county, this will help our points with respect to the applications that are submitted. And again, just because we're choosing more than one, that's not a bad thing.
Actually, that's a good
That's a
thing
very good
because
thing.
our points go up based upon having multiple
Right.
vendors, right?
So it, but we do appreciate Open Broadband, North State, and Infinity Link for their willingness and their concern about broadband access here to the residents of Wayne County.
All right, and so we're going to take these agreements one at a time?
We can take them one at a time. If you want to start, we can do Open Broadband first.
Okay. Let me get to the,
Yeah. You want to come up and? Sure. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking.
Are we going through the document? Is that what we're doing?
They've had a copy of the document. I don't know if there's any questions or concerns, or maybe,
well, we just briefly had gotten the documents. So my understanding is that is a 2-page, is that correct?
It should be.
Memorandum
Yeah.
of understanding.
By the way, I'm Kent Winrick. I'm Chief Technology Officer, co-founder of Open Broadband.
Great.
So just as a reminder, so.
Great. Is there any questions on the memorandum of understanding? And that would be, let me get you to, if I can, Mr. Honeycutt, kind of go through this agreement and see if there's any questions on it.
again, this is a very general MOU. We're not committing any county funds until the grant is given.
Right.
So for all 3 of these projects, we're not committing any county funds. It is all contingent upon receiving the GREAT grant. They're very similar in scope, or the agreements are very similar.
So basically, we're going to be doing a lot of the legwork, finding out exactly what areas we're going to be covering that are eligible for the GREAT grants. We're going to be applying for all the areas that are eligible for the GREAT grants. And of course, like he said, there's no money involved from the county until the GREAT grants are approved or are given. So there's no money coming from you at all in this.
So if I could understand that, maybe clarify for my purpose, and that is, we're applying for up to the 3 million, what was that number? 3,274,000, that you're applying for up to that amount and several areas. The GREAT grant may come back and have a portion of that.
Correct.
That they would approve.
That's
So they
correct.
can approve all of it or a portion of it.
Correct.
Our match is going to be depending upon what the GREAT grant will be for. Is that
Exactly.
correct?
Yeah.
So even though we've got the numbers in there, this is the maximum amount.
Correct.
Is that correct?
And then that's a 50% match unless we use ARP and it goes down to 15%, is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
So we're actually having to apply, or on our memorandum of understanding would be up to the 50% is what we're showing. But it could be less than that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're doing all the paperwork because we have to be the ones that apply for the grant.
Right.
And then we'll just obviously keep you all informed as how it goes.
And again, they would not be looking at the two areas that North State or Infinity is looking at. So that would be the only areas, because those are the hardwire areas that we're looking at with those two applications.
Now, the other question I have is, if we apply for this, which is all-inclusive, as best we can, for unserved areas, or underserved, should I say, and they come back and reduce that, say 50% of that they're going to approve, once that decision is made, is the county then, is it permissible then for the county to fund the other 50%? Since we applied for the GREAT grant. Whereas before, if we used our dollars without going to get a GREAT grant, then we are limited and would be prevented from getting a GREAT grant for a year. I know that's a complex question, but
I don't think there's anything that would limit us from using some of our ARP dollars to expand the project.
okay,
Based upon not, what we don't receive, or if we want to backfill some areas that qualify with our ARP dollars.
that sound reasonable? So we're going to apply for it all. Hopefully, we're going to get it all.
Right.
But if not, then there are other options.
Yeah, yes, there's plenty of options. And there is a small possibility that the GREAT grant process may not give Wayne County some of the areas that need to be covered. But we've been through that once before. Hopefully we won't be through that again. But I'm just making sure that we're all aware that there is a chance that may happen. But that means that we just go back in the next year and just keep applying until we finally get what we're looking for.
Yeah, could you explain what areas are not covered, or how you were specifying in the grant where you applied before?
We had applied for, and I'm forgetting exactly it was basically the areas that were deemed viable for the GREAT grant at that point in time. And they limited, my understanding is that the state limited the amount of money, the amount of funding that they had, so they only picked a small group of grants that they were going to authorize. So, and ours was one that didn't make it through. There were a number of ISPs who didn't get granted that year.
Is this the same thing this time?
It's same thing every year. So we have to make our best proposal forward to the state, and that's why we're partnering with you, because that we have the best opportunity then.
But the pool of dollars is much greater now than
Absolutely.
it was before. There was a
Significant
very
amount.
limited amount of dollars in the past.
Yeah, yes, that is
Now,
correct.
there's a limit now, but it's much larger than
Right.
what it was.
Right.
Okay, so the proposal that y'all made last week, or whenever it was, where you had the towers that you're authorized to or have contract that you can put stuff on, are those the ones that you're proposing, or is
Yes, it is.
all of those that were in that proposal are
We are-
in this?
We are going to go after the GREAT grant for all those areas.
Okay.
So the presentation we saw the other day, where the circles were
Yeah.
on those towers, that's what this proposal is.
And those towers that were specifically named
Right.
will have transmitters or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, access points, or however you want to call them.
Got it.
Okay, any other questions?
Can you tell us what you needed, how much money you needed? Can you speak to how you're going to make up the difference if the county doesn't have to put up with 15% instead of 50% on the AAR?
So my understanding is that everybody needs to have some of their own funding in. Every ISP needs to have a percentage of their funding in as well. And we have the amount of money that we need to be able to fulfill those requirements. Exactly. That's a very good question.
So you're going to have skin in the game?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot of skin in the game right now.
I know you do. I know you do. Okay, any other questions?
So, is that the number that we're going to put in?
Up to, so what is the up to amount?
Is,
15% of 3.2 million,
right, if we do get it and use ARP funds.
so that's
Yes.
$480,000.
Okay. And those participating by WebEx, are there any questions? Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Foster?
No question.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think, and Morgan, correct me if I'm wrong, we would probably need a motion on each grant application that, you know, and funding is dependent upon receiving the great grant or the county's match, but this would enter into that partnership in the MOU. Because there are 3 separate companies that we are dealing with.
Would we make the motion to approve the memorandum of understanding subject to approval of county attorney?
Yes, sir. Because that's one of the things, and since we do have a little bit more time on the application, there may be some tweaks to the proposal, and there may be some tweaks to the application. But again, it would be contingent upon our county attorney's final approval.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I got one more question.
Oh,
Chris. So it's, and this is probably for Mr. Borden and Andrew. So if the 50% would put us at 1.6 million, but we're certain we can use our ARP funding, that would jack it to 15%. Let's whack it for you. Okay. I'm good with that.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding with Open Broadband with the consent of legal counsel.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, this will be a roll call vote, and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to start first with Commissioner Williams. How do you vote, sir?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Aycock?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Wayne Aycock?
Yes.
Chairman Daughtery?
Yes? An enthusiastic yes.
That wasn't enthusiastic. I apologize. The older I get, the less I multitask. Commissioner Chris Gurley
Yes.
and Commissioner Freeman Hardison.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
So that was unanimous?
That is unanimous. Yes, sir.
Well, we'll move to the second one.
Thank you all. It's always a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
And our second is North State Communications Advanced Services, doing business as North State. Again, I appreciate Joey actually called us and talked about this process, and so this has been fairly recent, but this is look at some hardwiring in some areas in the southern part of the county. And again, that was a concern that our board had as well during our last discussion. So I'll introduce Joey.
Thank you, Mr. Honeycutt, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Joey Stevenson with North State. Our proposal is to build fiber in the southern part of Wayne County, as Mr. Honeycutt mentioned. It would pass 373 homes that looks like by the data are either unserved or underserved that would meet the criteria for the GREAT grant. That fiber build would be approximately $2.2 million, and with the county partnering with North State, the grant would pay up to about $1.9 million. So North State would pay approximately $310,000, and our request to the Board of Commissioners today is that you would partner with us for $25,000 of your ARPA funds that would allow us to have that partnership and receive up to 85% of the grant on this build. And if North State's successful in doing that, we're going to build to approximately another 1,000 homes that are both homes and residents and businesses in and around that area that the initial build would take place. We'd make an initial investment of $1.7 million of our own funds in that additional 1,000 homes. Now, that's not part of the grant, so our specific proposal today for the county is that you would propose to partner with us by using $25,000 of your ARPA funding in the grant to reach the 373 homes I mentioned in the southern part of the county.
Okay, I'm a little confused here, if I might, and that is, I've got this agreement that basically is a memorandum of understanding that indicated 373 locations at a project cost of $3.274.
Yes, sir. That initially had our additional build included in that. For the 1.7, that's our initial investment. For the grant itself, it's just 2.
So this was all inclusive?
Yes, sir. That was all inclusive. Yes, sir.
Oh, right.
2.2. Yes, sir.
Now, we'll kind of get in the weeds a little bit, all right? And I don't have that map in front of me, but in the southern section of the county, there is an area that's kind of set to one side stating that they had received federal grant before. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? And are we, in fact, providing any services to that area?
We're not requesting any additional funding because once that area has received what was called RDOF funding, which was federal funding for broadband access, those areas are areas that we did not include in the grant. They're not eligible to receive additional funding under the GREAT grant for that. So those areas were excluded in what we're asking for in that southern part. So that company, whoever won that bid, has already received money to provide that. And I think they have a multi-year agreement to get that built out.
But they haven't built it out, have they?
Not yet. Not yet. But if they've received funding, if it's been awarded, then you can't request additional funding for the same exact area.
Do you know what the provider is for that area?
Come out of Sampson County, I imagine.
Do what?
That probably come out of Sampson County.
Not sure. But that was one of the things that they talked about specifically, in Greensboro, was that if you've already gotten some federal dollars for a certain area and it's deemed unserved, those areas are off limits.
Can you find out who that provider is?
We can try to
But
find
he
it.
didn't come through us, though, right?
No,
Is that in the southwestern part?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's far off on that, like AT&T?
I think it is AT&T.
It's AT&T?
If someone needs to place a call.
Well, my question is, as you're running your fiber, are you not going near or through this area?
We will. We will. It's just part of the build because, as you can see on the map, you can't see them probably very well, but there are some green dots that are the underserved or unserved areas. So you'll have to go through areas to get to them because they're so sparsely populated.
Well, then you know where I'm leading to the next question is, would you be is it possible that you could, at your expense, be a provider for the service on the fiber that you're running through their area?
Yes, sir, we could. We would have to do that on our own funds, though. We couldn't use any grant funding to do that. And that would be part of the $1.7 million we would invest in our own funds, potentially serve areas like that as we're building through.
Which I see as an additional benefit because now you've got a competitor that's coming to the area.
Potentially, yes, sir.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Is that part of the 1,000 that you were talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
In your opening thing, okay. That's been a confusion the whole time. If you're going from point A to point B and you've got to go through people that are served, can you come off of it? And we've been told yay, nay,
Right, you
But-
can't use grant funding
But you
to
can
do
come
that.
off of your own dollars.
You would have to use your own funding to do that, yes, sir.
For sure.
Yes, sir, you can't use grant funding, I'm positive.
But I'm talking about, but you can come off of it even though it was paid for with grant money.
To my knowledge, if you're doing that on your own funds, that is a completely separate deal than any kind of,
What I'm asking is if main line goes through, you can take off of that main line at your own expense, even though the grant dollars paid for the main line going from A to B, you can come off of it anywhere on that main line using your money.
yeah, well, we've separated the money out of what's being spent specifically in the grant-covered areas.
Now, I don't mean to be ugly. You can answer my question. If grant money pays for the main line from wherever you're coming from to X,
Yes, sir.
can you tie off of that line that grant money paid for? Can you make the connection off of that main line with your money and provide service to somebody else that's not classified as served or underserved or?
Commissioner, I believe you can, I'll just need to verify that to make sure I tell you the right thing.
Okay, any other questions? I don't know where you came from, but we're glad that you're here because this particular area definitely needs that additional service.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we announced earlier in the year, we're going to build to about 14,000 homes in Goldsboro. So we're looking forward to being a partner with this county.
Great, great.
I think, Gordon, you have a question?
Are you going to have anything else on that table? Like television?
We would, that I would need to specify specifically if we're going to offer that or not. So we're looking at our product mix right now, so I'd have to let you know on that.
Okay, any other questions? Any questions from Commissioner Foster or Commissioner Williams?
No,
question.
sir. No, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
With North State, North State, is that? Yeah. A grant funding, or great grant funding opportunity with North State.
Subject to the county
Subject to the
attorney.
county attorney. Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, another roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
All right, Commissioner Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Aycock, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Wayne Aycock, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chairman Daughtery, how do you vote?
Yes. Enthusiastically.
Commissioner Gurley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster, how do you vote?
No. Okay.
Commissioner Hardison, I'm sorry, are you up, Foster? Commissioner Hardison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. That is unanimous, Mr. Chairman.
Well, good then.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you so much. Yes.
before we continue, I'd like Mr. Honeycutt, if you could, find out who did get funding for that area in the southern part and find out what their plans are.
And they are. They're looking into that for us. We believe it's AT&T. And as you recall, AT&T several years back did have a program available there, but it was very limited at best.
And if you would, get back with Craig about what I asked about, because
Yes,
that's
sir.
going to determine.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charles.
Okay, and our last proposal.
We do have a proposal. We do not have a representative from Infinity Link here. But as we've talked about before, Infinity Link is looking at fiber and hard fiber in the northwest part of the county. And I think they are out of Greene County. I think their base is in Snow Hill. So, but you have their memorandum in front of you. They're requesting a a match of $352,941.18. And again, that would get out to 15% if we use our ARP funds.
Mr. Attorney, could I just like to make one statement? You know, Infinity Link doesn't have a representative here. At the last meeting, they became unprepared. You know, I just think someone needs to talk to them, let them know how important this project is to the county.
I agree. I want to thank the two companies that did show up to present your presentation. And one thing that has impressed me is if you didn't know the answer, you said you would find out. You didn't try to sell us something. You know, I appreciate your honesty, but
You do not have to act on it right now. We can, since we do have a month, we can hopefully get them to come to our commissioners meeting as well, if the board so chooses.
Well, I think we have enough information to act upon it. I'm just disappointed.
Right.
I do, and we are making these motions subject to the approval of the county attorney, and but I agree, they need to go ahead and get their proposal together and satisfy our county attorney with the wordings. In this area that they're talking about serving, that was the green area on this map, is that correct? So that area is in need. They are providing fiber connections. And so I would encourage us to go ahead and approve the memorandum of understanding subject to the county attorney as we did the other two.
I have a quick comment.
Yes, please.
I think that, I understand they're not there, but also, I don't know how many people know about Infinity or their quality of service. It's not really here in Wayne County like that, but if you travel to other states and places that their quality of service is pretty good. And I don't think that, whether representatives here or not, I think we need to look at quality of service that we might be getting, regardless of them not being here to present or whatever, you know what I mean? So I think that's the most important thing for our county, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that, we know what we're getting. And I think with them, their service is pretty outstanding from what I've seen from traveling and everything else and being in other states, that their service is great, a lot better than some of the services that we have around here.
I agree, Commissioner Foster. This is the same company that just got the grant over in Lenore County, is that
For
correct?
the GTP?
Yeah,
29.
I think that was right at 30 million.
Yes, sir.
So,
Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, I've spoken with the people in Greene County, and they are overly excited with their service that they have. So there's some sections, like I say, that we may not be able to reach in other places just because of where it's at. I think we need to consider them.
well, with that in mind, I'll entertain a motion, or is there any more discussion on this? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the memorandum of understanding for Infinity Link with approval of council.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll have another roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Williams, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Aycock, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Wayne Aycock, how do you vote?
yes.
Chairman Daughtery, how do you vote?
Even in their absence, an excited yes.
Commissioner Gurley, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Commissioner Freeman Hardison, how do you vote?
A disappointing yes.
Mr. Chairman, that is unanimous.
Well, good. I commend this board for unanimously approving this, and hopefully the dream of two former commissioners that began some 7 years ago, Commissioner Bill Pate and former Commissioner Ray Mayo, hopefully we can see this coming to fruition. It's a long time coming. They say government moves slow. That's slow. But thank you, board. Our next item under unfinished business, Mr. Honeycutt, if you'll kind of guide us along on that.
We do have one budget amendment. If the board will remember, at our last meeting, we did approve of the technical engineering services with ECS at our last meeting under consent. Since our fearless leader, Ms. Spate, was not here, she forgot to remind me that we needed an appropriate budget amendment along with that change. And it's in a budget amendment of $13,965. That's part of the capital project for the jail.
So we voted to approve it, we just forgot the budget amendment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment?
So move.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? We'll have another roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Aycock, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Wayne Aycock, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chairman Joe Daughtery, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Hardison, how do you vote?
Yes.
That is unanimous, Mr. Chairman.
If I could get some clarification in regards to the great grant. Now we've got this, and it's going to be in the hands of the state to approve these great grants. The cutoff date is
Now, May 4th.
May 4th. When are they going to be awarding the grants?
My understanding is about 90 days after
Yes.
it's been submitted.
So another 90 days.
Yes, sir.
But that's quick from a government
I started to say the same thing. That's quick for a government. So we will be notified in regards to the outcome of our application.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What's your gut feeling on this being approved?
Much better since the funding, since they have really thrown a lot of state dollars, there's a lot of ARP dollars, there's a lot of dollars that are available. And I think that, as we talked about earlier, multiple partners will help us even further.
So based on my figures, if everything goes through that's been presented, we spent about $570,000 of our ARP money on a 15% match.
Well, I just hope that they all get approved.
Yes, sir.
Before I close out the meeting, I do want to commend a gentleman that has been working on these type of projects, bringing broadband service to Wayne County for many a year, and that's the Assistant County Manager, Chip Krepler. So I want to give you an attaboy because I know you worked hard on it, and hopefully we're going to see some positive results in the next 120 days.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else to come before the board? If not, we are adjourned.
Thank you.